Oh buddy, Andy here again. See if I remember how I can do this. It's the last video I made. It was actually quite some time ago. All about Scrabble Man. I think it was called That Was the Week That Was. And I'd probably call this one That Was the Month That Was, because I've been away doing Hastings Rock. For those who've seen my videos over the years, we tend to do that every single year in May. This year was a little bit different, and mate, that's one of the reasons that I'm making this video. I tend to make one anyway, like a reflection thing. But this year was a little bit different for a number of reasons. One, we were in different premises. We had sort of slight issues, should we say, with the place that we were with before. I'm not going to go into detail because it's not fair on the people. It wasn't their fault particularly. Just the way that things change, and sometimes you need to change. Sometimes the change is as good as the rest, type of thing. And we moved to new premises where we made extremely welcome at the King's Head in Orr, and that made a difference. And I think that made a difference to the whole broadcast, the whole nature of the broadcast. It seemed to be a lot happier and a lot smoother in some ways, but in other ways that brings its own problems. And I've said to a few people involved that I don't think I've ever made as many phone calls or received or sent as many texts or emails, etc., as I have done for Hastings Rock over the last month or so. It's been one of those things. A few issues come up. As I said, that's what happens when you change. You're not quite sure what you're doing. Yes, you know, the best laid plans, you try and sort everything out as best as you can, but things come up, access and things like that, or whatever, studio problems, things you hadn't thought about, you know, you're in a smaller room. I could go on and make things a lot more technical. But generally, a very good broadcast. But for me, also, it was different because although I've been the chairman for a number of years and been a DJ on the station for even longer, my involvement, as I just suggested, was more, but even down to my involvement with actual DJing as well, because I had the honour of actually starting the whole station off on the Saturday morning, at midnight on the Saturday morning, the 5th of May, sort of sitting up in the studio, having a play around, having a practice, and in a couple of minutes before we went on air, plugging in the transmitter in, letting that sort of fire itself up, and then spending about a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, playing some music, getting people into it, starting it all off, doing a little bit of spiel, and then leaving it, and then, you know, starting it off for everyone all around the world, you know. And so that's a bit, you know, the old finger on the computer mouse was trembling a little bit at that point. I'm quite happy to admit it. It's not something that usually affects me too much, noticeably, but that's another thing that I'll come to. Because apart from my normal shows throughout the year, local music and all that type of thing, and I don't think I did any more particularly than I've done over the last couple of years, because I've not been in proper work, so to speak. I've been doing more because I've been able to do more. But I also, this year, one of our DJs couldn't make it, one of our regular DJs. That's the way it is, because, you know, we're all volunteers and all that type of thing, do it for nothing. Family circumstances, work or whatever it is, get in the way. You know, you can't do sometimes the things that you'd like to do because you've got to pay the bills and meet all those family commitments, etc. So one of our main DJs wasn't there, and he's the man who usually closes down the station traditionally over the last few years, coming up to midnight on our final day of broadcasting, which this year was Friday the 1st of June. So that fell to me to do this year as well, and once again I felt that was a very big honour, A, to start it off, but B, to shut it down, because what we do on the last night, we always have a big party. Same again this year. We broadcast in the pub, we have a party in the pub, we broadcast the sounds, the audio out throughout the pub, and we also have a video camera in the studio as well, relaying live video footage down to the bar on TV screens that are in the pub, and we also set our own up outside and in the pub as well, so everybody can see exactly what's going on. It's a little bit daunting at first until you get used to it. Yes, we all play up to the camera and that type of thing. We have a webcam throughout the broadcast, but it only takes shots every 2 minutes. And even that can be a little bit strange, because they always catch you in strange positions, you know. So you have to be even more conscious of that. But I'm used to, you know, here I am sort of talking into a video camera. I'm a bit more used to that type of thing nowadays, so maybe I'm a bit more comfortable at it. But shutting it down, thinking about what am I going to say, because once again, what you need to do, you know, which is fair enough, is at the end of the broadcast, the last person on makes the speech, thanking everybody. You've got to write all the things down and do the speech. Talking's never been a problem for me, admittedly. But by that time in the evening, 11 o'clock, you're thinking, now how many beers should I have before I do this? As it happened, I was so busy I didn't drink too much, and probably only had a couple of pints as it happened. And maybe that was a good thing, because although there's a certain amount of trepidation, I actually really enjoyed that last hour. When I've done broadcasts on the last hour before, never that late, it's usually earlier in that evening, I've never enjoyed them quite so much. I think it's because it's that whole idea of the things going away. It's the last show. It's a little bit out of context of what you normally do. maybe a little bit more out of your comfort zone and all the implications and that type of thing. But this time I was thinking it was going to be the same, but it wasn't. I sat down, I thoroughly enjoyed it and really enjoyed that whole experience. And it also made me think, after the event, as it happens, of the journey that I've come on through that station, because next year will be the 20th anniversary of Hastings Rock. We're hoping to go ahead. We'll have to sort the money out, but I'm sure we'll move hell and high water to do it. Because, you know, the 20th anniversary, even if it's the last one, you've got to think, well, we've got to do this, you know, let's go out in style if we do. Well, that isn't the plan, by the way, for any fans who are watching. But I started off in 1993 listening to the station, discovering it on the radio. I wrote a letter in and saying how much I'd enjoyed the music, how much it reminded me of all those old stations, pirate stations or whatever, that I used to listen to as a teenager, as a child, or whatever it might be. And since then, I've started helping out on the phones a couple of years later, and I've built myself up, got to know the people by helping them all out in the background and things, and then get invited on to the committee, work my way up, where I've now been the chairman for a number of years, and now a DJ, and have been for so long, for a number of years now. And now here I am, actually starting the station off and being in that privileged position and being allowed to, and being, you know, sort of thought highly enough of, I suppose, to actually shut it down. And as I said, I consider that to be a great honour, and that sort of didn't really strike me until afterwards. But even on that night, when you shut that down and you think about it, and it got to me a little bit. I wasn't emotional, but I could feel it. You know what I mean? And the next day, usually when the station finishes, there's almost a sense of, oh, glad that's over. Yes, you miss it, but the pressure's off type of thing. But this year, I didn't feel that so much. It was a case of a real sense of loss for me, and maybe that was because of that sort of greater involvement, and because the broadcast itself was so well received as well. There's a great deal of interaction that goes on between the presenters and the people behind the scenes and the listeners as well, whether it be online throughout the broadcast or on that final night when we have that party, as I spoke to, and we had another gig as well, and you get to meet these people. So you built up friendships throughout the years with the listeners and things. So a strange time, and I'm still feeling it a little bit now. Here we are, this is the Sunday, 2 days later. But I'm getting there. I've been using the music therapy and sort of playing some decent music and getting it out of my system, and even listening back to some of those bits of the broadcast, some of the better bits that I did as well. Makes it good, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to next year. Sometimes you think, oh God, can we go through that again in the nicest possible way, because it is a lot of work, but we do it because we love it. And when we get all that interaction and all that great feedback as well, that makes it even better. And this year, that's been even better than before. As I said, all those things added together, I'm sure we'll be back next year. A great experience, and as I said, a big learning curve, and it makes you realise sometimes what you can do if you put your mind to it, if you put a bit of effort in, you know, beaver away a little bit. It was never my ambition to do this. It's one of those things that's come along, but as I've said before, you say yes to things, you get involved with things that you enjoy, and who knows where it might lead. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, look at the sea, maybe go home and play some music. I fancy a beer as well, you know. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.